and I'll make an announcement. Oh, all right. We are live. We're officially alive now. Okay. So welcome to the next community workshop. I have special guest, Dan Hannum. Did I say that right? Was that Dan Hannum?
Close. Last name's Hannum.
All right. And Alex, a developer DAO member. So, I think I'm getting like some reflex. Yeah, one second here. Um, yeah, there we go. I'm feeding back. Okay. So, yeah, wanted to introduce a very special guest here with Gashawk. So, me and Dan actually met in East Denver, and it was interesting thing because I had seen Gashawk before, and I didn't know what it was, and I thought maybe it was kind of like a scam. It sounded too good to be true, honestly. Like, why would someone want to save gas for me over time? And I'm like, whatever. And I didn't really pay much attention to it for a few months, and then I bumped into him at the Meta Cartel event, and I was like, oh, you do Gashawk, and I didn't actually believe that it was true. And then he sold me on the idea, and so when I came home from Eve Denver, first thing I did was, all right, let me make some claims from everything I missed. And it worked, right? I didn't get scammed. I didn't get hacked. So I was like, holy shit. So then I started telling everybody at Developer DAO, hey, check out Gashawk. You're wasting this. You can do it for your deployments. You could do it for something that's not really time efficient. And it just kind of spread out. And now Developer DAO uses it for their save transactions. So all payments that hand out every month is all gone through Gashawk and has been saving them at least 20% per transaction. So it is my pleasure to introduce Dan and Alex. Go for it, Dan. Take over. I've already talked enough.
Hey, you're good. You're good. Appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, it was a pleasure to connect with you in Denver. And we're excited about what we're building here. But yeah, hey everyone. My name is Dan, CEO here at Gashawk. We are building a service that saves individuals and institutions up to 95% on ETH gas fees. Started development in May of 2022, and Alex here is actually one of the developers behind the project, in addition to my CTO, Daniel. We launched in October, and so I've been live for about 6 months now. To date, we've onboarded about 3,000 users. As Billy was mentioning, kind of a wide spectrum of users. So developers deploying contracts that can be very gas intensive, artists that are deploying on-chain collections, whether that's art and music NFTs, and then kind of your everyday ETH user buying, selling, minting, trading, registering ENS domains, whatever they may be doing on chain has a transaction fee that we can help solve. Currently, on the consumer side, we are a one-click add to network or add to wallet, and so can very quickly and easily begin using Gashawk in maybe 5-10 seconds. We are a completely non-custodial platform, so we only take in signed transactions. So we have no ability to move your funds, edit transactions. You're not signing contract approvals, anything like that. Essentially, how our service works is you send a signed transaction through Gashawk's RPC. You can set an account level or a transaction level deadline, currently anywhere between 5 minutes and 24 hours, although we are working on much quicker deadlines as well. And essentially how it works is we built algorithmic designs that can execute at the lowest base fee over any time interval. And so it's been a really amazing service on the consumer side. We are completely free to use. So we are not charging a fee for our service, whether that's a percentage of savings or transaction fee. Probably why Billy thought we were a scam at first, because why would someone provide a service like this for free that just provides net savings? But we've really tried to lean into that public goods angle, and I've been fortunate enough to be awarded a few different public goods grants from ENS, from Ethereum Foundation, DAO Drops, Gitcoin, Giveth, Optimism, Retroactive Public Goods, and so that's allowed us to continue to provide this free service. So yeah, that's kind of the consumer side. And then for anyone in Developer DAO or anyone watching this, we also work with enterprise clients. So you can imagine like layer twos, custodians, exchanges, DeFi protocols, NFT platforms, fiat on and off ramps, any type of institution, enterprise, organization, DAO itself that is managing on-chain treasuries or on-chain governance votes that has to make a transaction fee, and we can help solve for an enterprise use case as well. So yeah, that's kind of a high level. And then, obviously more than happy to dive into more of a kind of demo of the site, the platform. We can walk through kind of a live transaction, and then myself and Alex can, dive into any like Q&A or questions if that sounds good.
That sounds perfect. Yeah, I would love to see a demo. If you're going to share your screen, I'll just move everybody to the side, and cool. You can kind of guide us through it as well.
Sounds good. I'll share now. And I'll come over to Gashawk. Cool. Is my screen pulled up?
Yep, it looks good now.
Sweet. This is Gashawk.io. This is our main site. Have some really cool features on the site. You can kind of get a sense of what our dashboard looks like, and we obviously will dive into that today. Kind of really quick and easy, as I mentioned before, as far as getting started. Just a one-click add to wallet. So we are wallet agnostic and soon to be chain agnostic as well. On our site, we actually have some pretty cool FAQs. So, typically some of the questions that we get early on, and I'm sure a lot of people in this call have done this themselves, is, either wake up in the middle of the night and wake up at 2, 3, 4 a.m. in the morning and hope that the chain's empty and try to process the transaction at that time. And, not always the best for your mental or physical health. And then kind of the second question that we always get is max base fee per gas. If I set a max base fee for gas, essentially it provides a, kind of quasi limit order on gas fees.
Yeah.
I think as we've seen with max base fee per gas is there actually comes a few issues with that. Sometimes that max base fee per gas doesn't get picked up, results in stuck or failed transactions where you're paying a fee anyways. And then on the opposite side, let's say you submit a transaction at 50 Gwei, goes up to 80, goes down to 30, and you set a 45 Gwei max base fee. You may hit that, but then you just lost out on additional savings. So we kind of automate that entire process from, no longer having to wake up in the middle of the night to setting kind of advanced settings. So just wanted to highlight some of these FAQs. For some people who have been in this space for quite some time, you may remember a platform called fees.wtf, a really cool platform where you could type in an address and it would show you how much you spent on gas fees. We kind of took our own spin on that. And so we have this feature here where you can enter in a public address or ENS name, and we'll show you how much we could have saved you. And so really quick and easy, you can see how much ETH you've spent, how many transactions since EIP 1559, how much we could have saved in ETH, and then how much of that is in the dollar amount. So really, really great feature for us to kind of show the proof is in the pudding, and then you can literally get started in, a matter of clicks. Once you signed up and begin using Gashawk, you'll have a dashboard that shows all the transactions that you have and the status of them. So I'll highlight some of our initial partners here, platforms like Revoke.cash, Earnify, DBank, Zapper, Zerion. I'm sure platforms that everyone has been familiar with. Mm-hmm. We also have some of our settings here to review. So you can participate in some of our giveaways or referral programs. One of the really cool giveaways we did at the beginning of the year was actually with our first ENS small grant. So we were awarded 1 ETH in public goods funding from ENS, and actually provided that 1 ETH back as cash back to every transaction that came through our platform as far as reimbursing gas costs. So always feel free to sign up. We're trying to find creative ways to give back to the community. On the default deadline, as I mentioned before, you can set an account level deadline. So I want every transaction to go through Gashawk, 24 hours, all the way down to 5 minutes currently. We are working on like a very quick deadline of between 30 seconds to 1 minute that will be rolling out pretty quickly. About a few months ago, we integrated with Flashbots. So a really great integration, really requested from some of our enterprise clients who wanted gas savings and gas optimization, but they didn't want their transactions sitting in the public mempool getting front runner sandwich. And now we've rolled that out for all of our consumers. So in addition to transaction management and gas savings and gas optimization, you can also get MEV protection currently. And then some other of the kind of transaction management stuff that we talked about before, as far as preventing failed and stuck transactions. So just wanted to highlight some of those settings. And then in the UI, you'll actually see a list of each transaction. You can actually edit transaction types. What were you doing on the state, all encrypted information, swapping USDC for DAI, just kind of nice to be able to make some annotations to what transactions you were going into. You'll see that the transactions have a cost of when we received the transaction, when we submitted the transaction, the percentage of savings, and then the dollar value of those savings. And so it's just a cool place to be able to scroll through. You'll see 10%, 40%, 60%, 15%, et cetera, et cetera. And then for some of the transactions, like this one's a pretty good one, you'll see, $25.42 transaction cost. We submitted it at $8.55, saved about 67%, or around $17. You can actually open up the chart and we'll actually show you what happened on chain during that time frame. So really cool to actually see kind of Gashawk in its work. So received the transaction of around 80 Gwei, went down to 40 up to 160, and so some of this volatility that you'd normally experience if you sent your transaction directly to the mempool gets kind of sidestepped, and then we actually execute at a low base fee in your time interval. So each transaction will have its own chart that you can review. We also have a cool celebrate feature as well. So if you use Gashawk and you enjoy what we're doing, you can tweet out and kind of share. It's been very effective for us as far as like organic traffic and just referrals to the site. And so, yeah, that's some of the dashboard that I wanted to show. And then also thought that it might be helpful if I do kind of a live transaction. You think that'd be good?
Yeah, definitely on there. I mean, just to put the scope for everybody out there, like I had put a transaction, I think for 15 Gwei, like, God, I'm going to say 8 months ago. And I think that transaction was actually stuck on the mempool for like 6 months on a wallet until one day I just decided to check on it. And I was like, oh, it actually went through, right? And so like Gashawk helps me avoid that because I didn't want to pay an excruciating amount because it was a very low important type of transaction. I just wanted to move something to another wallet. And whenever it got there, it got there. I didn't think it was going to take months. I thought maybe I'd fall asleep on a Saturday. And I'm a victim of that. Let me wait till Saturday night to claim everything and deploy everything. So, I mean, just having the ability to use Gashawk and just like set it and forget it. I remember way back when it used to be like up to a week that I could set it in the mempool from time to time, like when you first started on there. So like now we have within a 24-hour zone. Is that right?
Yeah. Right now, 5 minutes to 24 hours. And then you can set that account level deadline or a transaction deadline. And I can show a little bit more into the transaction as we process more of a live transaction. But actually working on, as I mentioned, kind of quick deadline. So we want to be able to hit like a 30-second to 1 minute deadline. So we want to be able to be used. So if if I'm providing liquidity in a low liquidity pool or making swaps on Uniswap or 1inch or Curve or Balancer or whatever platform I want to make sure that you can kind of eliminate the trade-off between slippage and finality and savings. And so those quick deadlines, I think, are going to be really exciting. And then for some of our developers that are deploying contracts, some of them actually are requesting even longer. So instead of 24 hours, 1 week, 2 weeks. And, for some of our developers that are using our platform right now, they're submitting really gas intensive and data intensive contracts. So it could be 4 or 5 ETH just to submit the entire contract. And, you're submitting with Gashawk for 0.8. And so that's, 4.2 ETH that's just right back in your pocket just from having a platform do the optimizations for you. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool things currently in place. And then, my team and I are working, day in and day out to provide new features, new UI, new UX, and have some really cool things in the pipeline.
Yeah, I love the deployment thing. Literally, that's one of the jokes I say. Like everybody's out in the club, I'm deploying contracts on Saturday. That's literally what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So having that in queue would be like godsend. And it's literally just as easy as setting an RPC right on your deployment on like say hard hat config, script. Just instead of using the default one or whatever, just use the Gashawk one. It's really that simple.
Yeah, and I think you guys should be able to see like the MetaMask pop up. You actually see Gashawk just listed here as a network.
Yeah.
And so very easy to use Gashawk. And then as I mentioned, we want to get these very quick deadlines so that you don't have to change your RPC, whether it's quick, whether it's slow, whether it's high priority, low priority. We want to be able to allow you to use Gashawk across any transaction. But yeah, very easy to get started, very easy to begin using our platform. And then on the individual or consumer side, it is free. So, all that net savings goes right back into your pocket, whether you're, a developer, an artist, a collector, an investor. Yeah, and then I can, as I mentioned, kind of walk you through like a live transaction so you can kind of see how simple it is going from, getting started to actually using the product. So I'll open up to Revoke.Cash, one of our earliest partners. Some of the people on the call may be very familiar, but really cool tool to keep kind of wallet hygiene up to par. So looking at revoking approvals or contract signatures. And so once you have your wallet connected, you can actually dive into the approvals. It'll show you any approvals that you have, and you can actually revoke the actions. And then that actually happens with signatures as well. So an action come into signatures instead of approvals. I have Gashawk set to my network. And then essentially I can look at either of these signatures. I'll cancel blur. Obviously can always re-sign. So I'll cancel. I'll get the MetaMask pop-up. It'll say network is busy. Gas prices are high. Gas estimated $3.92. I'm on Gashawk's network. So I'll click confirm. Once I click confirm, I'll actually come into Gashawk and I'll see that transaction listed here. So it'll pop up in real time. It'll be hunting for a low gas price with that 5-minute deadline that I set on the account level. As mentioned, I can always come in and change this. I want every transaction to go in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it may be. Once the transaction is set up, I can actually see, okay, the transaction would have been $3.53. We're projecting $3.27, so about 8% savings on this transaction. I can always pause the transactions. I can simulate the transaction, and this will actually show, we believe, the proper time, the predicted fee, and then actually some more developer details as well. So you can look at technical details through Tenderly, which I'm sure may be helpful, especially from a developer perspective. Nice. So really nice and good information to be able to dive into here. If I come back into Gashawk, I can always adjust the deadline as well. So let's say, I wanted it 5 minutes. This one, I'm not too worried about a signature on Blur at the moment. So I'll come over here. I'll click on this drop-down arrow. I'll click on Edit Transaction. And then I'll actually adjust this to be 24 hours. I'm fine waiting, the next day for gas to be optimized before this transaction goes through. We'll see that it automatically adjusted to 24 hours or, roughly 24 hours with some of the time already taken off. And you'll see that even just going to 24 hours, the projected savings went from 7% to about 35%. And so, on average across all of our deadlines, looking about 30 to 40% savings. And so, yeah, all this is happening in real time. As I mentioned, I can put in a description here. So revoking Blur signatures, click enter. And then, the nice thing is, I move on about my day. And so all this is being optimized and handled for you on the background. As I mentioned, you can always edit the transaction to be quicker or sooner. You can also publish instantly if you ever need to. You can simulate the transactions, you can delete. And so gives users and developers optionality over managing their transactions. And so, just wanted to kind of highlight how quick and easy, literally it's the same process that you'd be doing with your wallet, except for instead of sending your transaction directly to the mempool and paying $3.53, I'll pay roughly projected $2.33 with Gashawk.
So quick question on that. Like you can queue up a whole bunch of them with the different nonces as you set them up, and you can have like different, like I do claims on Convex, and then I'll do a claim on Arbor Finance, and then I'll do claim something. So I can just queue those up and then walk away for the day, and then just like come back in and check on them, right?
Yeah, and that's that's the nice thing as well. Is we kind of talked about how Gashawk is wallet agnostic and soon to be chain agnostic, but we're also like platform or DApp agnostic. So you can use Gashawk on OpenSea, Uniswap, Revoke.cash, whatever you're doing, buying, selling, minting, trading, registering ENS domains, whatever it may be. And so you can kind of just queue all these up. So, you'd see nonce 85, nonce 86, nonce 87, so on and so forth. And then, they're all starting to execute. And so, there's some really cool things that we have. I'll stop sharing for a second. Some really cool things that we have in the pipeline as far as those like quick deadlines, those longer deadlines, and then some really interesting UI and UX stuff. The cool thing about our platform is since we are completely non-custodial, we're only taking in signed transactions. So we can actually see the origin of the transaction and what it's interacting with. And so imagine if Gashawk kind of managed that timing for you. So, this transaction's interacting with Uniswap, automatically adjust your deadline for 30 seconds. Your next transaction is, renewing Billy.eth, less time sensitive, automatically adjusted 24 hours. So there's some kind of UI, UX, and usability items that we are working on now. And for us, it's a pretty small team. And so a lot of things to get done, but we're excited about, what we built so far and kind of the future of our platform.
Yeah, definitely. I'm proud to say that like anything on my mainnet, I use Gashawk for literally everything. That's not like super time specific. Like, obviously if I have to do a swap or something right now, but that could be coming soon. But like you said, like I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to add a subdomain to my ENS. It's not super important or imperative that I have it now. So like, why spend the extra gas, right? Like when I read fees, what the fuck, I'm like, what the fuck, of all that ETH that I lost over time with a bad transaction or this question. And I've never done this before, but if you have everything in queue and you delete the little one, the middle one with the nonce, do the nonces update it on Gashawk, or do I have to redo them all?
I believe right now it kind of just depends on how many you have in place. Alex might be a good question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, it's I'm glad you asked because it's an interesting challenge for us. We thought a long way how to handle nonces, and like the nonce part of the transaction object. So when you sign your transaction, it's part of the signature is like the nonce. So as you said, if you have once 1, 2, 3 and you want to delete once 2, transaction 3 would not be able to get through because you have to first add nonce with 2, right? So the Gashawk front end works like a stack. If you have like nonce 1, 2, 3, you can delete the top of the stack and like go towards the lowest nonce. So because otherwise it's not possible because the nonce is part of the signed transaction, and we like Gashawk never has access to your private key, hence can't sign transactions on your behalf. So that's how we deal with the nonce.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can get into a little bit more of that signature, because that again, that was my number one concern as seeing Gashawk like an advertisement on my Twitter. It's like, okay, this is too good to be true. But given that sometimes you don't know what's happening behind the scenes, it's hard to trust. So what happens on Gashawk is like when I create this transaction and I send it to the RPC, is it just like a signature being sent to a middleman in a sense into the Gashawk servers and then going to the mempool? Like, how does that work in general?
Yes, we actually call this the Gashawk proxy. I think you're familiar with flashbots, right? So
Yeah.
you alter the RPC away from Alchemy and Infura. Alchemy and Infura, they tend to submit your transaction as fast as possible. We are not doing this. We intercept the transaction and put it into like the Gashawk backend. So what the Gashawk backend does is to look on every block. So we subscribe to the Ethereum node. On every block, we're looking if it might be a good point of time to submit your transaction to Alchemy or Infura. So based on our strategy, we can make a decision whether we expect the base fee to be lower or whether it's the ideal point of time. If the deadline, for example, is over, we have to submit your transaction anyways. So, and then if this is the case, our backend server is send the transaction either to Alchemy and Infura or to Flashbots if you opt in for the Flashbot option. So
Got it. So it's just for
yeah,
like a little bit of clarity for anybody watching is it's literally the same transaction that you would send to like Alchemy or Infura, right?
yes,
So when you sign off, you send that transaction, you send that block transaction to the RPC server, but instead of going directly through Alchemy and being rushed, it's just sitting on the Gashawk servers, Hannum, and there's no actual information that could be like taken apart because that transaction is already set with that nonce and everything, so it's secure, and then
yes,
Gashawk just relays it out on there. So really no
yes.
major danger for anybody that's kind of like nervous about trying Gashawk, right?
No.
Yeah.
And that's, as you and Alex went into, that was like a trade-off that we were willing to make, right? It's like we probably could have had more seamless UI and better experience by being able to edit nonces and things like that. But that comes with the trade-off of having the capabilities to sign transactions or move funds or things like that. And we just wanted to be very very particular around the security, the trust in our platform, the reliability. And so that does come off with some of those trade-offs between, maybe a better UI or better experience, but we think that they're the right trade-offs to make as far as being focusing on security, reliability, uptime, things like that. And Alchemy is a great platform that kind of serves as our downstream node provider, and actually just recently jumped on board as an investor in Gashawk. So we have some cool stuff in the works with Alchemy of how to even provide even better services moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, again, it doesn't cost gas to redo your nonces or anything, so you could just cancel it from the top and redo it. It's just that it just costs time, not any gas. So you don't have to cancel transactions, which is pretty dope too. Because if you make that mistake on MetaMask, right, then you have to match the nonce, then you got to spend even more gas to cancel it. So like there's an advantage of like, oh, I didn't want to do that. Let me go back to Gashawk and clear it out. And you save a whole bunch of gas too. I've done that a couple of times.
Yeah, I think we all have, especially rushing into something. And that was kind of part of the settings that I jumped into early on of, kind of the transaction optimization or transaction management part of Gashawk is not only the savings and the optimization, but also preventing the failed and stuck transactions. And so there's kind of early elements of more of a transaction manager. And, like you said, there are some things in the works of how we can provide even a more seamless, quick secure experience. And we're really excited about like where we are now, but by no means is this kind of a finished product. So we have a lot of work to be done kind of across the spectrum, but have gotten really good community support so far from our users, from the public goods funding that we've been able to receive, and just trying to provide what we believe to be kind of a core piece of infrastructure that allows ETH to kind of continue to scale. And I think all of us have probably tried out layer 2s, but I think if you asked 99 people or 100 people, 99 would say, hey, I use that layer 2 because I wanted the transaction to be cheaper. It wasn't because it was a net new experience or something they couldn't do on mainnet. They just wanted to pay a smaller fee. So what if we could just make mainnet cheaper and more efficient?
Yeah. I mean, when I talk to people, it's like, why don't you use Gashawk? I mean, like, I think like after ETH Denver and I did this thing, I'm like, dude, I think I was the one that made the video because there was no video on it. So I was like, let me just make a video to, instead of explaining it over and over again, here, just check it out. And like people just started picking it up. And I was like, man, it's like so easy. Like, why wouldn't anybody do this? Like, it's just like, don't go raw on MetaMask anymore. In a sense.
Yeah, that video was super helpful. And like right around that same time, we had a really great opportunity to do a demo in front of Bankless DAO as well. And so that really helped kind of get the word out. And I think as even as we discussed in Denver, right, like even having the opportunity to sit down with the person kind of leading the project and ask questions and get answers, like makes you feel a bit more comfortable. Okay, there's a real person behind this business. But these demos are even more impactful, right? Because it's like, okay, that sounds good in theory, but it must be really hard to use or really clunky, or why would I do it? And I think as we just saw with with the live demo, right, it's the same experience. I'm signing a transaction and then I move on about my day, and all this stuff is being optimized and automated on the back end. So obviously I'm extremely biased, but I think it's a really amazing tool. And we've gotten really great usage. I've been in crypto for quite some time, and especially over the last 5-6 months, I think it's hard to find projects that have onboarded, a little over 3,000 users in such a quick time period. And I think it kind of highlights, the traction that we have, and it's, in our opinion, solving like a major pain point in the sense that every transaction on mainnet has a fee that we can help solve for. And so, like we talked about earlier, regardless of whatever you're doing on mainnet, it has a fee. And then, part of our kind of next like 3, 6, 9 months actually building Gashawk across the EVM stack into other layer 1s and layer 2s. And so imagine if you could use Gashawk on Bitcoin. You're looking at ordinals or inscriptions, or you're going on Polygon, or you're going on Optimism or Arbitrum, and you can just use the same RPC in each one of these networks and just continue to get savings and optimizations and security built in. And so we have a cool kind of North Star vision we're aiming towards, and day by day trying to get there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm for it. Let me know.
Yeah. No,
so I know we have a lot of devs that are going to be peeping in, that are going to be popping in and out.
Cool.
So how does it work on the lower? Like, what's the stack to build Gashawk? How can people build off or contribute to the Gashawk network? Like, what are the tools that you guys are using to make something like this happen? Like, are you guys running your own validators? Are you guys using your own like backend specifically for certain things? How can someone help contribute? Someone sees this video, is like, Gashawk's so cool, I got to be on the team. What do they need?
Yeah, Alex, do you want to get into some of the tech stack?
Well, first and foremost, we are building everything based on TypeScript and Node.js. So if you know the language, this is, I think, already a plus. I think if you have an issue, or like currently we are not open sourced yet, but if you can like submit an issue to the Gashawk project, then we might have a look at it. But if you want to integrate Gashawk in your app, you can use the Gashawk SDK. This is like a way to, if you're a smart contract developer, for example, and you're running Hardhat, we have built a plugin that uses the Gashawk relay to intercept your transactions in order to save your gas on smart contract development. So if you're running automated Hardhat scripts, for example, you can use the Gashawk SDK to interact with the service. I don't know if it helps, but we might post a link in the chat so you can go to
that Corpus.io Gashawk SDK.
Is it on NPM? Yeah.
Oh no, not the NPM. I'm just searching it out off the Gashawk. But yeah, if you find it, you can give it to me in the chat, and I'll share it on the global chat as well.
We also have it linked out. I should have probably went through this as well, but
Okay.
I'll quickly share my screen again. But yeah, on our site, if you come down back to the homepage, on the bottom, you'll see a link to our documentation. And then in the docs, you'll see, kind of a lot of different things, where to start, how to save, see some like really amazing people in the ecosystem that are using Gashawk. And then you can get into SDK and documentation as well. So that's just on gashawk.io. And then on the bottom, you'll see a link to our documentation, obviously Twitter, and then Discord as well. So as Alex mentioned, if you do have issues or comments or questions or feature requests or whatever, please feel free to drive into our Discord. We're always looking to improve across the board, and we'll be happy to connect. I think the nice thing about our product is it's very applicable across the ecosystem, and so we kind of touched on some of the enterprise use cases. We touched on some of the consumer use cases, but then there's also what we like to call kind of like the B2B2C approach. So if you're building a dApp that may not be processing a lot of transactions directly, but facilitating transaction activity, so like a Blur, a Manifold, a Zora, these types of platforms, right? Or some of our early partners like Fee.xyz, which is like a kind of Quest platform, buy your first NFT, submit your first trade on Uniswap, et cetera, and kind of build your on-chain reputation and identity. If you're building a platform and want to actually integrate with Gashawk to provide this service to your users, which in our opinion, in our data shows that actually incentivizes more on-chain activity to happen through your platform, we can connect that way and talk about like co-marketing, content, Twitter Spaces, those types of things. So we can work with the individual level, the enterprise level, and then kind of like the B2B2C approach if you're running your own app or platform or protocol.
Yeah. I mean, one thought that I would have just for just developer, and it wouldn't work just yet, but like I like having a fast-paced auction style on chain, because a lot of the auctions happen off chain. And so like my saying is, if it didn't happen on chain, it didn't really happen. Yeah. So, why not have Gashawk be that interface of like when people do auctions back and forth, being able to save gas in that front end interface without having to like do a whole bunch of things and integrate it in there for calls and, with account abstraction type of styles where you use that RPC to like kind of help, that gets pretty deep into more stuff. But as an idea, like that would be great. Like why spend all that money on the relayer when we could save gas in total,
Yeah, no, I mean, we love going kind of deep into that stuff. And, we get that question all the time, is Gashawk going to be valuable in the account abstraction or EIP 4337 world? And we think it's actually even more applicable. As fees maybe get taken out from consumers and into enterprises, those paymasters, those validators are going to have to be paying a larger percentage of those fees, and those fees will continue to get higher. And so, maybe the net transaction fee on each transaction gets a little bit lower, but if that happens, then we 10x the number of transactions, which is going to start to fill up more blocks and things like that. So, we're always kind of thinking ahead. We're talking to different wallet providers of us being like the default RPC in, mobile wallets, desktop wallets, login SDKs, and so every net new user wallets can actually start to get all these services built in. And there's a lot of cool stuff. So, we have an investor right now from like PartyBid, PartyDAO, and you may have seen their new kind of feature of like on-chain versus on-chain is like their new kind of like PartyBid feature. And so, similar to that, like we've seen with platforms like that, or even back in the day, if you were like minting an NFT and you're submitting bids on that NFT, could be very gas intensive. So I unfortunately have spent a lot of money on NFT bids that I didn't win. I had to submit a bid on chain. Then I got a higher bid that came in, and I spent whatever 0.3, 0.4 ETH and I didn't even win anything. So I think that's like the nice thing, right? Is the way we think about it is every transaction has a fee that we can help solve for, and it's just now trying to figure out what are those use cases. How do we make this applicable and widely accessible to everyone building and interacting on mainnet?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah. I'm a big proponent for bid to earn too, guys. So just in case that way you walk away with something.
Right. I mean,
I just want to highlight that it's actually not that hard to build on top of Gashawk, because in the end, we're just exposing an RPC endpoint. So for example, if you're running an app built on Go, you can just plug the URL and then you can work with Gashawk. So if there is a demand for, let's say, a Python SDK or Go SDK, because we want to make the life of Go developers easier, and just let us know, then we're happy to build this. But in the end, the Gashawk is really simple. It's not that complicated. So if you're thinking about the action app, the auction app you've just described, you can pretty much build it right now just using the Gashawk SDK, because every transaction is in public. And if you use the same deadline with the same fee, which you can modify, I think you can already build it on top of it, and it's kind of simple, So
nice, yeah. Something to tinker with on the weekend right now, 4th of July weekend. So you never know. Yeah, I think that's so cool. Like God, I mean, like again, I'm a big praiser. Again, I don't get paid. I'm not getting any like endorsement for this, so I could say whatever I want. But I'm a big fan of Gashawk. Like ever since I started to use it, I haven't stopped using it, and I really promote people to use it because it just makes sense to use it, and having the ability to like just over save stuff. Like if someone's telling you you can get a discount by using this, who doesn't do that? Like it's literally like an on-chain coupon, right? Like just you don't know what kind of percentage you're going to get, but you're going to get something. It just makes sense. Like just use it. I can't think of anything. And like having more developers utilize this, everybody's really about account abstraction and making fees cheaper. We're not there yet. We're not ready yet for account abstraction, honestly. In some aspects, there's still early development for that. So while we're still figuring that out, you should still be using Gashawk, because not everybody's going to pay your fees. They're going to get real tired of it on mainnet. So I can tell you that right now. And like all the stuff that I do on mainnet has been like, it's like not super important for me. Like it doesn't need to be very time based. So I use it a lot, and if anybody has a secondary verification, like, are these guys legit? Just ask me. I'm 100% honest. Everybody knows I keep it 100 all the time. So definitely. I don't see if we have any questions out there, people reading out, but if there's anything else that you kind of want to like file through, or just kind of like any last minute things as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like we talked about, I appreciate the opportunity. I think that's been the challenge, but also the upside in our project, right? Is we are pretty small as far as resources. We are essentially relying on like public goods funding to keep this project up and running. And so, getting support like this, whether it's Bankless DAO who give us an opportunity to demo, whether it's Developer DAO giving us an opportunity. I've done one with Backdrop like 2 weeks ago. I've done one with Skylab, another like DAO. So yeah, I think it's really helpful when we can get the opportunity to get in front of people, kind of share what we're building. You talked a little bit, I think something that's interesting to highlight as well is, you talked a little bit about like fees, and, I think layer twos, in addition to kind of abstraction, are a big thing, but people kind of forget of how layer twos actually work in the sense of actually getting that finality. And so that's actually a really big thing for us, is actually working with these layer twos on the sequencer address. So as all these transactions are getting batched and bundled on the layer two, they have to come back to mainnet for settlement finality. And those layer twos are actually like big clients, or could be big clients of ours, in the sense that Arbitrum, Optimism are spending, thousands of ETH a week, taking all their transactions back to mainnet. And so we saw, maybe a week ago, Arbitrum actually ran out of fees to cover gas, right? And so these layer two shouldn't be going down because they can't cover gas. So, even as we think Gashawk is really impactful now, but we are already positioned for account abstraction, IP 4337, 4884, moving into layer twos, even layer threes. And the really interesting thing about the layer two is we kind of hit this like really nice triangle effect of like, we can work with a layer two directly, whether that's Base or Zora or Arbitrum, Optimism, etc. But then even into the layer two itself, we can actually be embedded into the layer two, so that developers deploying contracts on the OP stack can use us. Individuals on OP or Polygon can use us. And yes, maybe the transaction is $20 instead of $100, but you spend $4 instead of $20. And so you're still getting a ton of savings, and we're still providing kind of that security as these transactions are going back to mainnet through the sequencer address. So yeah, there's, as you mentioned, there's kind of like, there's levels to how kind of deep this Gashawk thing gets. And we're just getting started, and think we're already providing a lot of great value. And if there's things that we can do better, features that you'd like to see, apps you'd like to integrate with, I'm always open to jump on a call with anyone, user, enterprise, partner. So yeah, just appreciate the opportunity to come on. I dropped our Twitter in here, and then I'll drop our Discord as well.
Or share that at the chat, but just in case, follow Twitter. It's Gashawk.io on there, and then the Twitter, I put that in the chat. The Discord, I put that in the chat as well. It's on the global chat. So yeah, definitely check them out. I don't recommend a lot of things often, but this one I do recommend. Like I said, DevDAO, uses this to make all payments every month on chain through the safe. So, that gets pretty pricey when you have an address list of like 20 people, and then it's got to shoot out a whole bunch of tokens and whatnot from different addresses. Like it's just expensive. So I think it's been saving about 20-25% at least per every transaction. So that's just, money that we can, again, pay contributors and pay everybody. So like it just makes a lot of sense. So if you're not using Gashawk, I'm going to ask you why not. Now there's no excuse. There's a video. We demoed it. I have a video. It's there. It's legit. It's not a scam. So there's no more excuses. Use Gashawk. I mean, that's what I can say.
I mean, it's a hell of a way to wrap up. But yeah, I mean, like you said, even we're seeing a lot of activity on like the safe side. So people setting up safes, people signing on-chain transactions, managing treasury, managing on-chain voting and governance decisions. So, like you said, there's some pretty deep levels that this continues to integrate and infiltrate into. And so, obviously, hopefully what we talked about today kind of piques your interest, and feel free to shoot us a follow, a DM on Twitter. I'm available on Twitter as well. So happy to connect with anyone that wants to learn more or work together. Billy, really appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Yeah. Also really happy to see a DD member out in the wild doing some really cool public goods. That was like so awesome. Like, wait a minute, Alex, DD. That's kind of like how it all got started in the intermix of like just developer DAO members just kind of out in the wild, kind of doing something that's super awesome, especially something at the level of Gashawk where it's just like, it's not really DApp specific, but like just a global public good. So like big kudos to Alex and everybody else on the team, just kind of like making things happen. You're saving me money, so I'm a fan.
It's there's a lot of people smarter than me that talk about how to make a good business, and one of those kind of like core pillars is saving people money. So we're happy to do so for the ETH community and soon to be other networks and other products and other protocols. So Alex has been great. Was kind of like one of the earliest contributors with my CTO on building the tech stack and building the algorithmic designs and all that stuff. And like I said, long way to go, but we do it with the support of our community and build for our community, and are really excited to have the opportunity to get in front of the community and kind of highlight what we're building.
Awesome. Now, is Gashawk only on ETH mainnet right now, or I think I saw some posts about being like on Optimism or something, or is there any layer 2s or sidechains?
Just ETH mainnet for now. So ETH mainnet and MetaMask were kind of like obviously the two no-brainers for us to launch. But we are looking at expanding across the EVM stack and other layer 1s, layer 2s. Have a lot of conversations with Bitcoin specifically lately. Bitcoin kind of fees have never been higher with ordinals and inscriptions and BRC20s. And so that's a big item. Even Polygon, which like some of the other layer 2s kind of tout very low fees, have pretty high and volatile fees currently. And so we can be built across the EVM stack and other layer 1s, layer 2. So Gashawk is both wallet agnostic and chain agnostic, and that's kind of the end vision, right? It's instead of Gashawk trying to compete as the 100th EVM based wallet, we'd rather sit between the wallet interface, the blockchain, and really own this kind of transaction layer and start to add these ancillary products and services on top of savings and optimization. So start off with MEV protection. We can actually look into and are looking into like MEV cashback rewards rebates. So what if we actually capture that opportunity and provide that as a rebate back to users as they use their platform? Like scam, fraud, theft protection. So some of the stuff that you see in browser extensions that could be built directly into the RPC. And so I think there's just a lot of value add that we can generate, and kind of our flywheel, right, is as more transactions flow through the platform, more value can provide, results in more transactions and things like that. So we are both wallet agnostic, app agnostic, and soon to be kind of platform and protocol agnostic. And if you're building on any chain outside of ETH, we're always down to talk. Spoke with some people on like Near the other day, have had good conversations with Arbitrum and Optimism, have had initial conversations with Base, like Coinbase's new layer 2. And so, I think there's a lot of room. And right now, just kind of resource constraint at the moment. So if you're in Developer DAO and are part of any of the public goods funding networks, whether it's Gitcoin or Gibeth or ENS or whatever, those are things that are allowing us to continue to build this product. And we've been very appreciative to have those opportunities. And if there's things that we don't know about, like DAO Drops for us was new last year, kind of like an Ethereum Foundation project that provided $250,000 in funding to a bunch of projects that were all voted on by the community. And I think you actually voted for us, which was super helpful. And so, yeah, anyways, if you're in public goods, right now we are definitely looking for funding resources and trying to kind of stay alive and keep this thing going. And I think we're very well positioned in, as we move back into a bull market to be, kind of core piece of infrastructure for everyone. And that's kind of the nice thing at like a very macro level. If you look at Gashawk in the next like 5-10 years, as more transactions flow through our platform, we can actually kind of reduce the volatility across the entire network. It's kind of serving as like a load balancer for the network. And so there's kind of these like macro public goods that actually make it cheaper, safer, more efficient to interact on mainnet for individuals and institutions as they're integrating and onboarding into Web3. And, I think in 2020, 2021, we saw a lot of like net new experiences come on chain. But I think as these new experiences come on chain, if we can make those things cheaper, we think it enables more developers to build, new apps where they maybe couldn't, whether it's in gaming where, you got to pay $25, $30, $45 of each transaction, now can be $2 or 20 cents if you're building on a layer 2 or something like that. So anyways, we will, soon to be building across EVM stack and other layer 1s and layer 2s, but currently just on ETH mainnet for now.
Nice. I did not know you guys were on Giveth. I've seen you guys on Gitcoin, and I put that one. So awesome. I'll have to give some of my gift power to you guys. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So learned. Awesome.
Yeah. Griff's been super helpful. We're literally looking at like all those things. Gitcoin, I think right now, Gitcoin, Giveth, DAO drops, Optimism retroactive public goods provided 10.5K OP tokens in like their latest retroactive public goods funding. I think we've won 5 different ENS grants, 4 small grants, one which I mentioned earlier where we actually reimbursed users for gas fees, and then a growth grant. And so, all those things are like majorly impactful for us to keep this up and running, keep myself and my CTO kind of able to continue this project. If you're part of a public goods platform, reach out. And if you're a donor on any of these platforms, keep your eye out for Gashawk moving forward. We could definitely use your support.
Yeah, definitely. Public goods are kind of hard to keep running. I'll tell you that right now.
I mean, that was a really interesting thing that I'm sure you saw and a lot of people saw in the last Gitcoin grant is everything was on mainnet. And so a lot of these products that could really use funding, hey, please donate $20, but it's hard to donate $20 when the gas fee was 35 or 40.
Right.
And so like it was very interesting how that kind of came full circle of like we're a platform on Gitcoin that enables people to donate more on Gitcoin. And so that was like a really cool example that like Gashawk is actually helping create a better experience for all these other amazing projects that are relying on public goods. So that was really cool to see.
I'll be 100% honest. I didn't donate to this last Gitcoin round because of that. Like there was just too many things on my list. And every time I wanted to add something from a different category, it cost me gas. So like after like having 4 different categories, I'm like, oh man. But for me, like public good makes this world go round, right? Like how many sites are running off ethers, right? Like if ethers went down, like all of crypto is like gone. So like public goods are really important. So whenever I can donate, I can. But like it was one of those things like this one, I was like, you know what? I'm going to let them figure it out first and then come back again. But I didn't know you were on Giveth. Are you on Giveth on mainnet or Giveth on Gnosis chain or both?
Mainnet.
Okay.
And so want to talk with the team about like how we can kind of do the same thing we did with Gitcoin of like how people can use Gashawk on Giveth to donate. So there's some cool stuff that we can do. Like I said, I'm always open for any type of collaboration, partnership, ways that we can help apps, platforms, protocols provide a better experience to users. And I think the public goods rings true, right? Like the more we fund public goods, the better experience you get. And there's a lot of projects that have been built starting with public goods and that are still essential public goods that allow everyone else to kind of build and go from degen to regen, which is such a cool experience. Griff and Lauren are great. Big fans. Been on them for a little bit on there. I'm thinking like with Willie Fox too, like with Shapeshift and their DApp, Gashawk would be great too. I'm not sure if they're all full Thor chain or not, but just more opportunities in the same circle, right? So I'll be sure to check you guys out on Giveth and use all the gift power I have to kind of boost whatever I can on that one. But definitely I didn't know, so that's awesome. They've been great. And our team from Corpus Ventures has been like building in and around ETH for quite some time. So CEO Christoph Yanks, has known Griff and some of the team going back to like Slockit and the DAO. So, our team's kind of been building in the ecosystem for quite some time, and those connections and relationships definitely make things a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, look forward. I mean, there's so many cool things that could be. We just gotta get some time, get some talent, get some money. That's the biggest one for sure. Yeah. But such a pleasure to have you guys. It's finally nice to like put a face to the picture, Alex, because I know you have the Pixel Devs thing on the Twitter. Like, who's Alex? If you look, that's one of the OG DD sweaters. Like, it's a very limited edition. I don't even have one. Yeah.
Is it the limited? So I know that I bought it like back in fall 2021, I guess, November. Yeah. So it was actually the first physical purchase I made using like cryptocurrency, and also it was kind of a cool experience to like submit. I think back in the days it was like $100.
Yes.
Like worth of Ether, and then a couple of days later there was like a parcel including the hoodie like in my apartment. This was like, okay, you can buy actually something with these coins. It was a cool experience. So yeah, I'm proud that I have this hoodie. So
yeah, I'm glad you didn't throw it away.
No, I never.
For $100.
No.
Yeah,
I really love it.
Yeah, it's awesome that you rep it out there. Much glad. Like seeing DD and Gashawk together is kind of like such a like an awesome feeling of like people are out here building something that solves problems, right? That's always been the biggest one. I have my rinky dink projects from time to time, but there's people out here really building out something cool and useful for everybody. Like you said, layer 2s, and it just saves me money. So I'm like, big fan, guys. I'm really happy to have you guys out here. Demo it. I'll be sharing this video out. This video go live pretty soon, so you guys can share it out as well. But really glad to have you guys here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
For sure. And I'm going to end it now. Let's see, in just a few seconds.